Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Enthador. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dwarf Fortress version 0.43, and we are the town of Foresthome. And Foresthome continues to grow, and I've zoomed out so you can see all of it here. We have completed the addition of this area here, and this I think will be the last addition to Foresthome in terms of reclaiming space. I know it's kind of silly to have this section here. Part of me really wants to wall it off and just add it, but again, the whole purpose of this multiple level wall here was defense. I could just say screw it, and I still might. We still have numerous episodes to go before this is all over, and it's not like the enemies attack here anyways, but I don't know. Had I planned it ahead of time, I might have just made this long. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what I would have done, because the whole point of this was to provide a really long hallway that the enemies can get strung out in, but also to have our ballistas fire. Of course, as we learned, this isn't long enough for the ballistas, because as soon as the enemy gets to right here or so, the engineers flee. My preferred solution to this would be to have siege engineers count as military, like have you recruit them like military, so they'll just man their engines until they're dead. That would be the ideal solution, but we'll see how Toady decides to play it. Alright, so let's zoom back in. Alright. So as you can see, this place is still a mess. We've got trees and wood everywhere, so we're not going to be doing much with it. Now here, on the other hand, I have paved everything that isn't taken up by farms, and I have created a second farm. If you'll recall, I was complaining in the last episode that the problem with farms is they need clear ground, clear dirt. So any kind of rock or anything impedes them. So what I did was I dug down a Z level into the clay level, which is one level down, and I built farms there. So I thought that was pretty clever. And it's open air, so you can grow above ground plants. And since there's ramps all the way around, anybody can go down there. Now this square overall is roughly the same size as this farm, but as you can see, the farm itself is smaller, but that's okay because these are items to which we have less seeds. In fact, these three seem empty. I don't know, let's check that out. So what we have are asparagus, bilberry, grapevines, spelt, white millet, spinach, which apparently we have no seeds for. Thought we did. Got to look into that. Broad beans, which we apparently have no seeds for. And long yams. So we might change these two from spinach and broad beans to something else, but we did have seeds for these at some point. They might be items that the seeds do not get saved. I don't know. Someone wrote a comment a while ago, and I'm sorry I've forgotten who you are, but their comment was that brewing or cooking anything, or processing, maybe it was brewing and processing, always leaves the seeds. So the only thing that doesn't leave seeds is cooking. It's hard to monitor. Like, I wish there was, you were just like, okay, these seeds here, do not use them, or maximize their potential, meaning save them when possible, and you just list the seeds. It's a little too complicated for me. It's never been a problem before. I just let the farms go, kind of. But I'll keep an eye on it, monitor it, make sure that if these two get used. If we need to move to some other plant, we can do that. That's fine. Alright, what else has changed? Not too much in terms of the rest of the fort. There is the pyramid, of course, which we are making some good progress on. This is the ground floor of the pyramid. This is where the energy is generated and where the switch to turn the pump on is located. There's a lot of empty space here, so I'm thinking of other things I could do with this space. I mean, I don't want regular dwarves milling about with all of the mechanical stuff, but I was thinking maybe I could do something with it. I'm not entirely sure, because here's the thing. I expected when I first started this that this pyramid was going to be huge, that I was going to have to be struggling to fill the space. And that is not the case, because now when you factor in the space that's required for the pump and to raise the water up, and then finally the space that's required for the water to come back down again and generate mist, it takes a lot of ground space away. And so as you get up the pyramid, you're getting less and less ability to do things. But just to give you an idea here, this is the water wheel that powers the pyramid. As you can see, it's spinning, or powers the water pump in the middle of the pyramid. This is the pump area. This is the pump itself. It has to be surrounded by walls, and just to make it symmetrical, I've created a bit more wall here too. And this is, I had to tone down my ambition a bit. I wanted to have water all over the place, but because again of space concerns, this is the only place where we're going to have the waterfall, and it falls down into this lake, which empties out into the creek. But this is walls. There's this part here will generate no mist because this is the kind of work floor. Here is going to be our great dining room, which actually doesn't seem all that great once it has everything in it. Because once you've got the fortifications and the grates and the pump again with some stairs here, it's not a very large dining room. It's actually kind of tiny. So I've got in the corners here, I have prepared food and drink. And I'm putting down copper tables and chairs, and there'll be more of that too. This place is going to get packed with tables and chairs. It's going to be kind of ugly, actually, but so it goes. And silver doors to the entrance. Now, I decided because it was becoming a problem to create doors that I decided that starting with this floor, everything is going to be reached by a central staircase. I had extra space here anyways, because to make this, as I mentioned, symmetrical, I had to have it a bit longer on this side, so I just turned it into stairs. But there are silver doors leading into the main dining hall. And if you look at this from the outside, hopefully it'll be cool looking in 3D, but the effect I'm trying to go for is like the Mayan pyramid, where there's block steps, and then you have little walkways up, 2 on each side. So you can see the ramps here. So hopefully what we'll see is we'll kind of see a block pyramid with these slopes going up on each side. That would be really cool. Then here is the temple floor. Now I've decided to make this another mist floor, so I've got my grates here, I'm building fortifications here. As you can see, the area is rapidly dwindling. In fact, this will probably be... The whole point I wanted was to have the pump go all the way to the top of the pyramid and have the water actually run down the side of the pyramid. That is probably not going to happen. First of all, because there are troughs running down the side of the pyramid, but they're for dwarves to walk up, and they're also visual. So I don't want water going down any of these because all these go down to the ground. So that'll make a mess. What I need is the water to go down and then fall here. And right now we're running out of space. Like this will probably be the last floor that we can do this. We can probably do it one more time here. So that means either this has to be the top of the water pump or this does. Because again, we're running out of space. But I'll figure that out later. But for right now, we have our nascent temple. And we have 2 areas set up so far. We have the Shrine of Mountains and the Shrine of Metal. Now, the reason why these shrines are called these things is because they are named after the god who is worshipped here. So in this particular shrine, we worship Doran. And Doran is a female dwarf and is the deity of mountains. Okay? And then down here, we have a shrine to Id. Id, the amethyst mine. And Id is a male dwarf god who is the deity of metals and minerals. So minerals wasn't a word choice, so I went with the shrine of metal. And so each of these is going to be a shrine that worships a particular deity of the Oaken Flags. If you look at our locations, you can see this, where this temple, the Shrine of Mountains, is dedicated to Doran, and this temple, the Shrine of Metal, is dedicated to Id. Now, the problem I'm having here is that these are such small areas that there's really no room for boxes or bags. Maybe I'll put 1 bag in each area, or 1 chest, but then there's only 2 rooms to actually worship in, or 2 squares, I should say, to actually worship in. I don't think the dwarves care. As you can see, they're kind of standing on top of each other. But this was not how I intended this. I wanted this to be this amazing temple with tons of room, but the pyramid is shrinking in horizontal, or I should say, non-vertical. I think it's horizontal, but it's in width. It is rapidly shrinking. So these rooms, this isn't even going to be enough. This will be enough for 4 gods. Our civilization, I believe, has 9. So even if I do 5, 6, 7, I still need to have another floor on top of this with a couple extra shrines. And remember now, I still have to have a place for our artifacts, a place for statues depicting the history of the different years, and a place for the noble, the eventual noble, to live. And I might just have to create a new place for the noble, like a palace, maybe up here, and not have them live in the pyramid. The pyramid might simply only have social and religious significance. That's an idea that I'm having. What else? What else? I did build agrarian housing right here. So I upped the agrarian component of our fortress to 6. So now we have 6 farmers because we have so much more farm area that we need more farmers to harvest it. So we have Mahak and Sven Stoneheart, who were farmers before. And then we have Bashgor, Nexus Lay, Akkus, and Skeletor Zar, who is married to Telor, but Telor is dead. So it's still just for him. And that's our 6 agrarians. So these 2 houses down here that used to house our 2 agrarians, I've left empty for right now. I guess at some point when I have some free time, I'll build a second story on these, maybe with a workshop. Not sure what I want to do here. Actually, now that I think about it, I can't really build a workshop because you need at least a 3x3 free area, which we do not have on either of these. So I'll have to figure something else out. I'm not sure what I want to do with these houses. Maybe I'll clear them out and make this one big workshop. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I haven't quite paved all of this over yet because we still have our named animals hanging out here. As soon as I build a place for them up here, and I'm going to make it, I believe, roofed over just to protect them in the event of a flying enemy attack. I mean, the flying enemy can probably get through the door, but I'm just hoping and assuming that the flying enemy will have better things to do than attack our named animals. We'll hope that that's how that works out. This industry here, the sheep, it's sheep's, alpaca, and llamas, although we don't have very much of anything but sheep. It's growing very slowly. It's growing just by us having babies, basically, have the sheep having babies, which they're doing very slowly. Because as you can see here, we're not really producing a lot of wool. And as soon as we produce it, we're spinning it into thread. We're shearing and spinning. So I turned our boy, Krish. Our boy Krish into a spinner as well as a shearer. And then I've changed this up here so that we now store yarn here. Well, any type of thread, really. So, llama wool yarn, jute thread, linen thread, whatever. Anything but metal thread, essentially. And then this guy down here makes cloth out of it. So now we've got a basic cloth industry. However, everything that we're growing here is edible and not cloth producing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new farm up here, a large farm that is going to be strictly plants that produce weavable cloth, like fiber. And there's a number of surface plants. Now, if you recall, the dwarven plants, the underground plants, there's only one, which is, it makes ale too. The pigtail. So you can only do pigtail thread, but there's several above ground plants that produce thread. So we can get a cloth industry going. One of the things I really want to show off with this fortress, like one of the, I guess, points of it, is I want to show an animal and plant industry. So I've got my pens here. So I want to do the whole story from raising animals to shearing them and milking them, to then producing the secondary item, which is the thread from their wool, to then producing the final item, well, not even the final, another secondary item, which is the cloth, to finally produce the clothes out of the cloth. So that'll be one of the, it wasn't what I started with, but that'll be one of the goals of this particular fortress, is to show successfully the plant and animal industry from start to finish. Now remember was it Sandpillar where I had the big cloth industry, or was that all the way back in Anvil Quested? I don't know, but that was underground cloth, so now we're going to work on surface cloth. And of course wool, which is something I've never dealt with ever in any of my fortresses that you have seen or that you haven't. So that's something new for me. But as you can see, we're getting a little bit more here. I can't currently request specific animals from anyone, so I'm just kind of taking what they can get. The elves just came. They did not have any cool animals that could be milked or sheared, so I didn't purchase anything from them. Or cool war animals like grizzly bears and bobcats. The grizzly bears have yet to have a child. Let's see here. We have a stray war grizzly bear, a stray war giant grizzly bear, and a stray war giant grizzly bear. So the giant grizzly bears are probably not compatible with the regular grizzly bears in terms of having babies. So this is a male, and this is a male. Okay, so we have 2 male giant grizzly bears, and that's why we're not having any grizzly bear cubs. And then we do have a female, but she is just a regular-sized grizzly bear and not a giant grizzly bear. And she's also a legendary climber. So that's awesome. Congratulations. So, no grizzly bear cubs. So we have to be able to... The elves need to bring us some good shit, basically, and they're not. They're bringing me, like, eagles. The heck am I going to do with an eagle? And let's see. A couple other things. I don't think last time I showed you the latest artifacts and whatnot. So let's take a look at that. I think it used to be L, so I always want to put L, but now L takes you to the locations. Now, oh, it's capital L, which is artifacts now. So we have all manner of codices. What is all this stuff? Like, who owns all this stuff? I don't even know where all these came from. Can the author save the world? I don't know. Can he? It was made by the dwarf Cyril Griffin-Sachs and entered wonder in the early spring 134. So how these books got here, maybe with the migrants, I have no idea. But and they all came recently, it looks like here. You know what might have happened? When the dwarven caravan got shooed away, maybe they dropped all their goods, and that included all these codices. But where did we leave off? I'm just going to start here and hope this is for the best. This is Mist Tardalzat Vesmanthul, or Knowledge Matched the Spry Deviants, which is a hazelwood... I don't know. What are you exactly? A hazelwood what? A hazelwood figurine of dwarves. All craftsmanship is of the highest quality. The item is a masterfully designed image of dwarves in hazelwood by Raven. The dwarves are traveling. The artwork relates to the foundation of Foresthome by the Tree of Wildness of the Oaken Flags in the early spring of 156. It is encircled with bands of hazelwood, alpaca wool, and cow leather. This object is adorned with hanging rings of cobaltite and menaces with spikes of hazelwood, diorite, and giant wren bone. On the item is an image of Mebzuth, mirrored relieved, the lumbering troll mate, and dwarves in hazelwood. Mebzuth, mirrored relieved, is surrounded by the dwarves, because this relates to the ascension of the lumbering troll mate to the position of king of the Oaken Flags in 85. Then we have Amgakut, or Opened Dabblers, a walnut wood toy axe. Great and all, but I would have preferred a real axe. This is a walnut wood toy axe. All craftsmanship is of the highest quality. It is decorated with walnut wood and yak bone, and encircled with bands of walnut wood and two-humped camel leather. This object menaces with spikes of pig bone. On the item is an image of Adam Axefasten the dwarf in reindeer leather. And I don't know who created this one. Sorry. And have we already looked at Gidthor Stistras? I'm not sure if we have or not. The Grasp of Playing, a diorite weapon rack. All craftsmanship is of the highest quality, as always. It is encrusted with rectangular diorite cabochons and menaces with spikes of diorite. On the item is an image of Clanboard, the Lignite Aral in diorite, and an image of smooth pebbles in yak leather, and an image of Thin Cross in Rubicel. So that's that. Wow, all these codices. I'm not even going to look at them. And a number of our dwarves have named their shields and weapons, but so many that I can't quite remember all who did it, so sorry about that. But our military is all pretty super elite at this point. I have not added anybody new to them, and they've just been practicing. The goblins, we've scared them away, but good, because it's been a while since they've come here. It's now the spring of the year 165, second day of the second month, and we haven't seen anything since the last recorded episode, and as you can see, I've managed to build quite a bit since then. I've got this road here. It's actually floors, but this area that prevents trees from growing outside my fortress all the way down to here. I'm actually waiting for a goblin attack to happen so that I can resume this as soon as it's done. I think it's a little... The time is coming, I think, and so I don't want to have half my unassigned outside the fortress getting slaughtered. And then again, this will be cloth farms. This will be more space for animals. Most notably named animals, so that we can keep them safe. And just free space, whatever. There's more space right now in Foresthome than we're actually going to need for everything that's happening. How many dwarves do we have, actually? 172, so we're not quite at the full 200 complement. It's interesting to see what people are doing now. A lot of them are socializing Dodong here, our gem setter, is meditating on mountains. I wonder if he's doing that at the Shrine of Mountains. He is. So that's interesting. So if you create a temple to a dwarven god who is represented by a particular thing, mountains or metals, then not only can the dwarves pray, but apparently they can meditate on whatever object that dwarf or that god represents, which is kind of cool. Or they can just pray directly to the god, like Clad is doing here. He's praying to Doran in the same place. So some are praying to Doran, some are meditating. They're doing all kinds of stuff. How do I... Oh, V. So you're praying, Clad's praying, Dreos is meditating, and then Combat is meditating, and Musgarad is praying. Cool. So that's our temples, and pretty soon we're going to have more. I have another statue being built here for another god, and we'll have them all at some point. Oh, we forgot to profile dwarfs. We're going to do that one at the end this time. So first off, I have some new dwarfs to introduce you to. There is Kylarn, Wakeful Acorn, Barak Severbin, Tivek Nama, Hussein Blackdune, Penguin, and Alexander the Less Great. And so now we're up to 318. Where did we start again? 158. Okay, cool. 286. Okay, 286 is Lord Stone the Faithful. Let's take a look at Lord Stone here. Lord Stone, Regrifat, has currently no job. Let's take a look at him. Lord Stone is actually Lady Stone. And Lady Stone worships Lengud and Doran. Lady Stone has a pet, Udib Dumatsuvas, a dog, but otherwise no family. No family at all. That's crazy. And on friendly terms with a number of people, but not of actual friend of anybody. Huh. All right. So Lord Stone, Lord Lady Stone. Last name is Glove Blocked. And I actually made the Faithful their profession as opposed to their name, so I could fit it all in. Within the last season, she felt euphoric due to inebriation. She was bored after being unable to practice her craft for too long. Her quote is, "Have no fear." She was bitter after getting into an argument, but was satisfied upon improving her persuasion skill. Well, that's good. So apparently she won the argument, I guess. She was delighted after putting on an exceptional item, and pleasured after a satisfying acquisition. Let's see here. She is 59 years old, born on the 9th of Granite in the year 106. She is tall, her nose is extremely long. She has a scratchy voice, kind of like I do right now. Her eyebrows are extremely dense, her ears are somewhat short, her head is somewhat tall, her hair is mahogany, her long hair is tied in a ponytail, her skin is dark peach, her eyes are gold. She's very agile, but she's very quick to tire. And what is she like? Lord Stone Regrifat likes limestone, bismuth bronze, green diamond. Okay. White-browed gibbon tooth, giant cave spider silk, male shirts, quivers, large gems, horses for their strength, porcupines for their quills, the words of the oracle of lutes, the sound of the chant of queens, and the sight of the mother of glistening. When possible, she prefers to consume celery, quinoa beer, and dwarven milk, which I presume is milk that doesn't come from dwarves, hopefully. She absolutely detests mussels. She has a great musical sense, a great memory, and a very good feel for social relationships, but she has little difficulty with words and really poor focus. And no friends, which is really sad. But that is the Lady Lord Stone. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, actually, before I go, there's one more thing. We did have a death, unfortunately. It was a death due to old age, and it was a very important dwarf in our fortress. It was actually Grugnir. Grugnir was our priestess from Sandpillar, and then migrated to Foresthome and became our broker and bookkeeper. This is an exceptional schist memorial to Grugnir, Ostad Thadib. The slab reads, in memory of Grugnir, died peacefully in the year 165, mayor of the Tree of Wildness in 160, loving mother and wife, at one with Elkbird Antler. So apparently Grugnir was elected mayor for a hot second, but then I removed her from the job and gave it back to old Skunky. But now Grugnir is dead. So we have a new broker and bookkeeper. But before we show you that, I want to show you one other thing too, which is we did have another death in the fortress, but it wasn't one of our citizens. It was actually, I want to say it was a kobold. Let me find it here. There we go. So this is a masterful schist memorial to Enganiz Size Tricon, created by Felix the Viking. The slab reads, in memory of that, born 120, suffocated in the year 164, loving husband, united with adventuring. But it doesn't say what Enganiz was. But he was a lord consort, so he wasn't a member of our town. Yeah, lord consort, but we can't learn anything about him. It's just, but that's definitely a weird name. Like, that's not a dwarven name. Let's see if there's anything. It's rotten corpse. It doesn't tell you what type of rotten corpse it is. Oh well. It's non-dwarf. Let's just leave it at that. And so we have a new broker and bookkeeper, and that is Cowlin Steelfist, who had all of the right stuff, I guess, to become it, because I did the search in Therapist for who was most likely to have the highest judge of intent, and it was this guy. So he's our new broker and bookkeeper, so welcome to the noble team, Cowlin Steelfist. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marcus Aurelius. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me in this adventure in the world of Enthador. Have a good one.